Our people come from Israel. You are ancestors.
We live in a
Why is that something you say that you're a Jew? Are you guys like this?
Shining flame is the
Let's go back to Jimmy.
So there's a government shutdown, and what's this really about? So the Republicans say it's about the Democrats want to give healthcare to illegal immigrants, and the Democrats say it's about they want to protect Medicaid cuts. So this is from Business Insider. Yeah, you want to know what's not? So it says why healthcare coverage for millions of Americans is at the heart of the government shutdown. Healthcare spending is at the center of this week's government shutdown. Democrats and Republicans are split on funding Affordable Care Act subsidies and Medicaid. If subsidies lapse, over 20 million Americans could face higher health insurance costs. Hey, you want to know what's not at risk of being cut off right now? Funding for a war with Venezuela. America is in the bad for your health business. Just keep that in mind. So the Affordable Care Act subsidies and Medicaid are hot topics, central to Congress's latest budget negotiations, and they were left unresolved at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday. That's this morning. Expanded Affordable Care Act tax credits are set to expire at the end of the year, which could cause marketplace insurance premiums to balloon. Democrats are calling for the credits, which were first passed by Congress during the pandemic, to be extended. They warn that if the current spending bill that the House passed on September 19th goes through the Senate as is, health insurance could be disrupted for millions of Americans. What we're doing is meeting the healthcare needs of the American people. That's what Nancy Pelosi told reporters. Really? Well, she's very believable. President Donald Trump and fellow Republicans called for the government to remain open in the hours before the shutdown, including in an email sent to federal workers on Tuesday that said Democrats are blocking this continuing resolution in the U.S. Senate due to unrelated policy demands. In addition to health care, consumers are set to feel the impact, like delays at airports and potential disruptions at national parks. Federal employees are also waiting to learn if they're furloughed, fired, or have to work without pay until a funding deal passes through Congress. Oh, wow. So this will attract air traffic controllers and the feds who work at airports? We'll see. We're going to see. I'm supposed to fly on Saturday. We'll see what happens. Lower and middle income Americans on government health coverage could feel the brunt of the Republicans' proposed budget bill. The U.S. spends hundreds of billions of dollars on Medicaid and Affordable Care Act plans each year. The one big beautiful bill passed earlier this year included deep cuts to that spending. The enhanced ACA tax credits increased the level of financial assistance marketplace enrollees could receive. The credit also allowed middle-income Americans at 400% of the poverty line, which is an annual income of around $128,000 for a family of four, to claim relief on healthcare costs. So if you have a family of four, you, your wife, and two kids, and you make $128,000, you can get some relief from the government to help pay your healthcare. In the past decade, Mark, by the way, a family of four probably has to pay for health insurance. I'm going to say somewhere around $20,000 a year, probably $20,000 a year for a family of four, just for the insurance. And then, of course,
best country in the world.
And then, of course, you have your deductible. So your deductible is probably $3,000 to $5,000. So now you're up to $25,000. Then you have to pay your copay. So then, so just to get your first treatment, you're already out about $30,000. That's for a family of four in America.
Some copays are $40,000, Jimmy. Remember that story?
Well, I know that for a fact. So one of our employees, for him and his family, it's $40,000 just for the insurance. That doesn't count his deductible. That doesn't count the co-pays. That doesn't count anything. So I'm going to guess a family of four. I bet their premium's $25,000 if it's a good healthcare. At least $25,000. So just to get your first treatment of any kind is you're going to be out of pocket $30,000 just for healthcare. So you can see that sounds like a lot of money, right? $128,000. He needs help from the government. Well, if you look at it, his healthcare just to use it once is going to cost him $30,000. Yeah,
and also inflation. That's what you need to be, not even middle class, by the way.
Right. So in the past decade, marketplace insurance enrollment has jumped from 11 to over 24 million people. A KFF analysis shows that without these credits in place, the lower and middle income Americans on ACA plans could see their out-of-pocket premium costs at least double in 2026. So I told you, by the way, a lot of MAGA people use this. A lot of MAGA people use these subsidies and Medicaid also. And who told me that? How do I know this? Because Steve Bannon told me that. He said that on this show. Depending on their income level, some enrollees would see their tax credits shrink and others would be disqualified entirely. This is from Business Insider. This isn't from MSNBC.
You know, I just wanted to say, Jimmy, that Anthem, now known as Elevance Health, their 2024 profit was $6 billion.
Billion.
That's what they're letting us know.
That's their profit after they pay everybody hundreds of millions of dollars in the executive branch. Right. Democrats shut down the federal government because President Trump and Republicans refused to give free health care to illegal aliens. That's what the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, wrote on Twitter on Wednesday morning. Well, that's not true. I mean, it's true she said that. But what is true is that undocumented immigrants have never been eligible for ACA subsidies and do not qualify for most Medicaid plans. So that's actually the truth.
Do they qualify for any?
Alongside campaigning for the ACA tax credit extension, Democrats are demanding that Republicans reverse the Medicaid cuts outlined in Trump's spending plan, which was signed into law in July. Though the Medicaid threshold varies by state, most recipients have incomes near the poverty line. Now, why didn't the Democrats stand up when they were passing this law? Why are they standing up now? Because they passed the big, beautiful bill under something called the Reconciliation Act, which is a rule and a thing that you can use so you don't have to so you can't filibuster that. So if you use if you use that rule to pass a law, you only need 51 votes in the Senate. Well, now they need 60 votes to get this continuing resolution passed, and they can't. So that's now the Democrats can flex their muscles. Do you see what I'm saying? So before the Democrats, they couldn't stop the bill from being passed in the Senate because they only needed 51 Republicans. But now they need some Democrats because the Democrats can now filibuster this, this is how they're shutting down. Okay. So that's because of the Reconciliation Act. So you can pass a bill to reconcile a House and the Senate bill, you could do it called reconciliation. You only need 51 votes to do that. The president's plan calls for new Medicaid qualification requirements, which would require non-exempt Americans to work 80 hours a month to qualify for insurance. So one of the problems with this is that people often go on Medicaid when they lose their job. So how are you going to make them have a work requirement if they lost their job? So that's just one problem. The law also limits the amount of money states can funnel from provider taxes toward Medicaid. In practice, this means that hospitals, especially those in rural areas, will lose funding, and some Medicaid recipients will experience higher out-of-pocket costs. Without changes in October's spending bill, the Trump administration changes to the ACA tax credits and Medicaid will go into effect early in 2026 and early in 2027, and that will really hurt the Republicans in the midterms. So it's almost guaranteed that Trump is going to become a lame duck president. It's almost guaranteed if this goes through. Honest. That's my theory anyway. And other people have made the same prediction that this is bad for Republicans because a lot of MAGA are on Medicaid and a lot of them use those subsidies because healthcare costs are out of control in America. That's why. So how
much you want to bet, Jimmy, that both of these parties have been taught? Remember, we had Joe Biden whispering that we got to cut Medicaid, and this is how they do it. They do this little Punch and Judy show where they obfuscate what each party's doing, but at the end of the day, you're getting screwed no matter what, and they're going to get rid of it.
So
I just want Israel's healthcare to be okay in Ukraine.
I hope Israel and Ukraine, they have health care. So here's what
so does Congress.
And so does Congress. Here's what J.D. Vance said.
But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make...
So that's not true what he just said, okay? Because our Democrats this is from Grok. So are Democrats shutting down the government to maintain health care funding for illegal immigrants? No, Democrats are not. This is from Elon Musk's Grok. Democrats are not shutting down the government to maintain health care funding for undocumented immigrants, often referred to as illegal immigrants in political rhetoric. This claim, amplified by President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, you just heard him say it, and other Republicans, is a misleading narrative used to frame the ongoing budget impasse. Here's a breakdown of the facts based on the current situation on October 1st, 2025. The U.S. federal government entered a partial shutdown, marking the first such event since, well, who cares? This occurred because Congress failed to pass appropriations or a continuing resolution to fund the government for fiscal year 2026, which began today. So the fiscal year starts today. The Senate rejected both parties' proposals, a Republican plan to extend funding through November 21st, and the Democrats' counterproposal to extend funding through October's end while adding healthcare provisions. So both those things failed. Impacts include furloughs for hundreds of thousands of federal employees, delayed pay for military personnel, closed national parks and museums, suspended economic data releases, and disruptions to services like veterans benefits and food assistance, essential operations. For example, active duty military, air traffic control continue, but non-essential work halt. So air traffic control will continue, and so will active duty military. Okay. Why the claim about undocumented immigrants is false? Well, federal law prohibits it. Undocumented immigrants are ineligible for federally funded health programs like Medicaid, Medicare, CHIP, or ACA subsidies. They cannot purchase plans on ACA exchanges or receive federal premium assistance. Emergency Medicaid covers only acute care, for example, labor, if you go into labor, and not ongoing benefits. So no such provision is in Democratic. The Democrats' continuing resolution text does not include language providing health care for undocumented people. Fact checks confirm this is a distortion. Republicans have conflated efforts to restore coverage for legal immigrants affected by the 2025 bill with free care for illegals. Why the claim about undocumented immigrants is false. So Republican rhetoric, Trump, Vance, Speaker Mike Johnson, and others have repeatedly claimed Democrats want taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens, tying it to voter incentives or state programs like California's, which uses state funds. This echoes earlier White House statements about a 2025 bill ending such abuses, but no evidence links it to the shutdown demands. Democratic rebuttal. Leaders like Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and Senator Elizabeth Warren and Vice President Kamala Harris have called the accusations a lie and a distraction. They emphasize the fight is over affordable care for Americans, with Harris stating Republicans shut down the government because they refuse to stop your health care costs from rising. So that's what's happening. So just so you know, so this isn't about illegal aliens getting Medicaid or Medicare or about getting Affordable Care Act subsidies. So this is about Medicaid and Medicare funding being cut and ACA subsidies being cut. So that's for Americans and legal immigrants. So that's what this is about. And so now you know what it's about. And this is going to, it depends on how the Republicans can spin this. So maybe they can effectively spin this into a victory for them. But I think if the Democrats just let this go through and the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare happen and to the ACA happen next year, I think a lot of working class people are going to be upset. That's what's going to happen because their out-of-pocket costs are going to balloon double for healthcare, which is already crazy. So like I said, a family of four is paying somewhere probably around $30,000 a year just for their premium. That doesn't include their deductibles. That doesn't include their out-of-pocket costs, their copay. Doesn't include their pharmaceuticals. So just to use your healthcare insurance one time is going to cost you somewhere around $30,000 if you have two kids.
What's the $50 billion cut to rural health care that the Republicans are claiming besides just this immigrant thing? Do you know anything about that?
No.
Oh.
So I want to show you this. Here's the now you can make up your mind about this. And it's not good that the government's shutting down, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what maybe they can reach it. Why can't they reach a compromise? And so maybe they will, or they'll have to. There's going to have to be some kind of compromise.
Because they want it to be bad for you because one side, how would the Democrats possibly ever win an election again unless this is bad for you?
Yeah. So, and it is bad for you. So, if you want to hear me make jokes about it, come see me in Hermosa, Sacramento, San Francisco, Irvine, California, Australia, and then guess where we're going to be? We're going to be in Burbank the day after Thanksgiving. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Now I want to show you the dumbest take. This is why this doesn't work. So this is the dumbest take about the government shutdown. So this is Robert Reich, who's just a huge partisan liar, just like all of them. He can't help but try to divide the country. He's all about dividing the country. And I'm going to play this for you. And some of the stuff he says is true, and then a lot of it is not. And let's go through it. This is Clinton's former labor secretary, was Robert Reich. So here we go.
My friends, this is not a normal government shutdown.
Okay, it is.
Ugh.
This is a normal government shutdown. This is how it happens. This is exactly how it happens.
Let me explain the stakes and how we got here. The Trump regime, along with Republicans, wanted to fund the government with a continuing resolution that would have kept existing funding levels the same. But if Democrats had accepted that deal, they would have effectively given approval to all of the terrible and wildly unpopular policies that Trump has pushed through since retaking office. That includes his funding cuts to public broadcasting.
Okay, those are popular. Those aren't wildly unpopular. Public broadcasting is just a psyop. So the PBS and NPR are just a psyop. I hope you know that. Okay, I'm all for that.
And foreign aid programs.
And foreign aid programs, too. I'm all for that. I'm all for cutting foreign aid programs. We got to feed people in America. We got a $37 trillion debt. We don't need to be taking care of the rest of the world. In fact, when we do fund foreign aid, we use that to control them. We don't really care about those people. We don't care about people in our own country. We do that so we can use that as a bribe to get them to do something political we want. And when we had on the former assistant to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, he said the same thing. He said, we don't need your aid. We need to be able to become self-sufficient in Africa. All you do is control us with that aid. And so that's the story that you don't hear in the media. So, but you hear it here. So he's wrong about all those things. Everything he just said, he's wrong about.
Also includes Trump's signature piece of legislation, the big, ugly bill that gives the richest Americans a giant tax cut, financed largely by cuts in Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, and clean energy programs.
So he's right about that. There is a big bill again. There's a big tax cut for the richest people in the world in this, because they don't need it. And they are trying to finance it by cutting Medicare, Medicaid, and clean energy. I'm all for cutting clean energy. I think that's being used to control. Anyway, but here we go.
That big, ugly bill passed the Senate last July because it required only 51 Republican votes in a special rule called reconciliation.
Yeah, it's a rule that our government uses, Democrats and Republicans. And if you don't like that rule, get rid of the rule. But he's trying to make it seem like somehow the Republicans invented this reconciliation rule to do. They didn't. This is always the Democrats use this reconciliation. Anyway, here we go.
This time, Republicans needed Democratic votes to avoid.
So this time, meaning now, the Republicans, they can't pass this continuing resolution to fund the government with a reconciliation bill. They have to do a regular, which means they need a filibuster-proof majority, which I think is, 68 votes? So they need some Democrats to vote. They need 2/3. So they need the Democrats to vote with them. Well, the Democrats aren't, which is why it's shutting down. Okay.
Shut down and to continue those big, ugly policies. They couldn't do it with just 51 votes. They needed more votes than that.
Because we have a constitution, and the Constitution has a filibuster, and so that's why. So the rules are in place, and everybody's playing by the rules. The Republicans use reconciliation, which is part of the rules, and now the Democrats are using filibuster threat to shut down. They need 68 votes. They need 2/3. Is it 68 or 67? Can you look it up?
Democrats, therefore, became suddenly important to them. Why the hell would any Democrat go along with that? I've lived through government shutdowns. Under normal circumstances, I understand why compromises are made to keep the government running. I have been in favor of keeping the government running, but our government is not running right now. It's effectively been shut down for months as Trump has destroyed checks and balances.
So he's doing this thing. He says Trump has destroyed checks and balances. Well, right now, the Democrats are employing their check on Donald Trump. That's exactly what's happening. The reason why the government is shut down. So if Donald Trump destroyed checks and balances, wouldn't he just pass this resolution?
Yeah, right.
So it's 60. I'm sorry. So it's 67. They need 67 votes. So if Donald Trump had destroyed checks and balances, we wouldn't have a government shutdown, would we? He'd just be doing what he wants, and he'd keep the government open. So this is the kind of rhetoric that I can't stand. This is the kind of lying to people. It's dishonest. It's demagoguery, and it's meant to divide the country. It's meant to make a monster out of Donald Trump. He's following the rules, which is why the government is shut down, because the Democrats are using their check. The Democrats in Congress are using their check on the president, on the executive power. So that's what this is.
Jimmy.
So for him to say this, that Donald Trump has destroyed checks and balances, it's manifestly a lie. It's manifestly 100% propaganda to try to confuse you and misinform you and get you angry at Donald Trump over something that's not true. That's not true. Right now, there are checks and balances, which is why they have to pass a bill, which they can't pass right now because they need Democrats to go along with it. So that's called a check. So that's why it's so easy to debunk this. It's so stupid. This is called 5 minutes of hate. This is what Robert Reich is doing, is 5 minutes of hate to get you to hate Republicans and hate Donald Trump. That's all this is. It's about dividing the country with a falsehood. If it was true, I would be for it. It's not true. Donald Trump did not destroy checks and balances. In fact, if he did, he would just pass this bill and we'd have the government open and funded.
The only reason he's in there is because Robert Reich and his pals fucked up so bad.
That's right.
I texted you, Jimmy, because I saw that this morning. This idiot saying this, when I woke up, I saw it. Look at a comment. It's funny that you're doing this as a story because it incensed me when I heard him say that. This is not a normal government.
Yeah, no, the normal government is how we got here. Years of F-ups is how we got here. Maybe take some responsibility for years of shitbag policy that made people turn to a game show host, which is what I said. The reason why people who voted for Bernie Sanders were willing to vote for Donald Trump was because they got, and people wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Black people wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton is because they got screwed over by 8 years of Barack Obama. They got screwed over by 8 years of Bill Clinton. They got screwed over. Bill Clinton's
Why is Medicaid even at stake if you gave a shit, Democrats? They don't. This is going to, like abortion, another wedge issue.
That's right.
We're not going to ratify Roe v. Wade, and we're going to blather about it, and then they're going to take it away, and we'll use your anger for that to get back in power.
That's right. So Barack Obama passed a healthcare plan that came from the Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing healthcare plan, which was Romney Care, instead of passing a left-wing healthcare plan, which would have, when they cry about, it's part of that, which would have included a public option, which gives people the option to buy into Medicare. I don't want to go with Anthem. I don't want to go with Cigna. I don't want to go with all these parasites, these vampires that suck $30,000 a year out of me, and then when I need coverage, they don't give it to me anyway. So Barack Obama didn't do that, and so that's why we're in the situation we're in, because guys like him, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, made sure we didn't have a functioning healthcare system, just like they made sure we didn't have a functioning a banking system. Same thing. They all did. Bill Clinton deregulated the banks. The economy crashed 10 years later. Barack Obama kicked 5.1 million families out of their house. Well, he made sure the bankers got their bonuses, and then he gave us a right-wing healthcare plan with no public option. So we're in the situation we're in right now.
Like they're all working together at the end of the day.
It's like they're all working together at the end of the day. So he's pretending that Trump destroyed checks and balances. Let me back this up a little.
As Trump has destroyed checks and balances, usurped the power of the purse from Congress. And
how did he usurp the power of the purse from Congress? You guys are right now, the Democrats are controlling the purse. They've shut down Congress. They've shut down the government. Right. So if Donald Trump usurped the power of the purse of Congress, we wouldn't have a government shutdown right now. The government would be funded and we keep going. But he needs Congress for their power of the purse. So he's lying to you right to your face. And most of the people who watch this believe it. He did not usurp the power of the purse. He did not destroy checks and balances. That's why there's a government shutdown.
You know what did destroy it? Those stupid impeachments and all those frivolous fucking lawfare things you did.
Right.
That destroyed all credibility you have.
Yeah. You don't think that the lawfare you did against Donald Trump, you don't think that impeaching him twice over bullshit, you don't think that the prosecutions of January 6th, which was a Fed insurrection, you don't think that destroyed your credibility? Okay, because it did.
Unleashed an authoritarian nightmare throughout the country. Democrats cannot.
He'll unleash an authoritarian nightmare. You know what an authoritarian nightmare is? Is when the government pressures social media companies to censor Americans at the behest of Big Pharma, which is what they did. When the government pressures Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok to censor at the behest of their donors. That's authoritarian nightmare. And then when the government mandates that you take an experimental medical treatment without any long-term studies, or you can't go to work, or you can't travel, or you can't go to school, or you can't eat lunch, that's an authoritarian nightmare. So this authoritarian nightmare didn't just start with Donald Trump. We've been living in it, but they like their version of authoritarianism when they can force a medical treatment on you like Nazis. They're all for that. They're all for censoring you at the behest of their big pharma donor. They're all for authoritarianism. They just want to make it look like it's just Donald Trump.
Where's Israel in that, Herr Reich? I didn't hear you mentioning how Israel is the one. Larry Ellison,
that's right,
the shadow president, the Zionist shadow president.
Right.
I know Peter Thiel's bad. I don't hear you bring up Larry Ellison.
Cave into this shutdown.
Democrats cannot cave into this shutdown. So you're telling me the Democrats have power? I thought Donald Trump took away all their power, took away all their checks and balances. He usurped the power. So the Democrats actually have leverage here?
Yeah. They must not operate as if what Trump is doing right now is normal, because it's not normal.
It's 100% normal.
In the short term, Democrats have to use their leverage.
Oh, so the Democrats have leverage. I thought he was a dictator. You don't have any leverage with a dictator who's destroyed all the checks and balances and usurped the power of this purse. Oh, but they still somehow they do. So he's saying two things at once, and nobody cares.
To restore funding to vital programs that millions of Americans rely on, like Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. And in the long term, they've got to paint a bigger picture for the American people about the devastating realities of Trump's regime. This is an opportunity for Democrats to fight back, not capitulate. Please, if you agree, share this video.
So the Democrats, you mean they have constitutional ways to fight back against this? Really? I thought Donald Trump got rid of the Constitution. He's a dictator. So anyway, I agree that the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare are a bad idea for the country because it hurts mostly working people.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And if these cuts go into effect, you're going to see this will definitely affect the Republicans in midterms because as Steve Bannon said on the show, there's lots of MAGA on Medicaid and there's lots of MAGA that get ACA supplemental funding too, because healthcare costs are so out of control. If you have a family of four, just to use the healthcare one time, it's going to cost you about $30,000. Just so you know. If you have a family of four, just to access healthcare once, it's going to cost, because you got to pay at least $25,000 in premiums, and then you got your deductible, then you got your copay. So that's just to go to the hospital once. It's going to cost you at least $30,000 out of your pocket. So that's how crazy.
Not having insurance.
That's how, with insurance.
Without insurance, you would pay less.
Without insurance, you pay less. So I agree with him about we should be cutting the Pentagon, not cutting Medicaid and Medicare. Mm-hmm. But what they did instead was they ballooned the Pentagon $200 billion. And guess who didn't complain about that? I didn't hear the Democrats complain about that. Did you hear the Democrats complain about that, Kurt?
No, well, they really care about Ukraine and, of course, Israel because there's only one party here.
They got to have more funding for Ukraine. They want more funding for. They're all on board. They're all on board for all the worst ideas. The Democrats and Republicans agree on that. So anyway, I just wanted to show you this is the worst take in the world, and he's got to lie to do it. And they've been doing this since 2016, lying about Donald Trump to try to win a political battle. And I don't think it works anymore. He's got. This is not normal. This is not. It's all normal. What's not normal is when one party and the media decide to paint their political opponents as enemies of their own country. That's what's not normal. What he's doing there is what he's doing is not normal. Trying to scare you into thinking that we don't have a constitution anymore, that we don't have checks and balances anymore, and that somebody's a dictator. That's not normal. So what he's doing is not normal. What Donald Trump and the Democrats,
your own country, but they all support AIPAC.
But they all support AIPAC. He's not going to say anything about it. He's not going to say anything about Ukraine. And if you want to hear me make fun of these people, come see me in Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco, Irvine, California, Australia, and then the day after Thanksgiving, I'm going to be in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph. I think that's it for today.
Okay, you don't want to do this one more story?
What do I want to do? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I thought you did. Just
I want to do this
along
last
with
thing.
it.
Okay, over to Steph.
All right.
You can go, Kurt, if you want.
Crystal Waters, thank you so much, Crystal Waters.
Yeah, spot leader, guys.
Okay.
My_war, thank you so much. Kurt tearing shit up tonight like a chimp loose in Connecticut. Don't hold back. Thanks, Kurt, for being the chat's mental proxy. Roxy Black. Thank you, Fully Laden Swallow. Thank you, Goo81.
I didn't get that. Trump trolls Democratic leaders?
Ask Malcolm what that is. He was shot by a drone, ? Edward asks. Thank you, Edward. Chicken fingers. France ordered to kill...
it didn't come through. Can you text Malcolm?
Okay.
You don't have to. Can someone?
Yeah, so, we're looking for... Hold on. Okay, here we go. France ordered the killing of Kirk to get Candace off of Brigitte's dick. Only way to cover up that massive hog. Thanks for the good times, Jimmy. Chicken fingers are yummy. Thank you. It's me. Thanks so much. I used to deal with guns a lot, and I've owned several World War II caliber guns. There is no way Kirk was shot by a 30-06. No way at all, period. Salvius Trifon. Thank you for that one. Kash Patel is scheduled to reveal who that guy was later tonight. Melsh, really? I'd be curious. I haven't seen any announcement yet, so I'll have to watch out for Kash. Dobther, thank you, Dobther. Keep the dramatic music for Steph reading super chats. I've got to do that, Senor Keed. Supposedly, MLK Jr. was assassinated with a 30-06 rifle at closer range than Charlie Kirk, and the bullet remained inside him. But the shot hit MLK Jr.'s jaw, his collarbone, and his shoulder blade. Sparky63. Now that TikTok will be censored, looks like ripe ground for someone to start an ESPN for the IDF. Free shit. Barry Weiss, now one of the head toadies, Zarkov. Steph, try using upside down text. So that's what they're saying for TikTok. To try upside down text. To
say something that's going to be censored?
Yeah. We're challenging that. We're challenging that it still wouldn't, the video that we're attaching might be, censored. But thank you for that, Butta fan.
Okay.
Back to Jimmy.
So Trump